It all started on an ordinary day in a bustling city. The streets were alive with the sounds of honking cars, hurried footsteps, and the chatter of people moving about their day. Amid the chaos, a small boy stood on the corner of a busy intersection. He was holding a small bundle of flowers, his clothes worn and patched, his shoes barely holding together. His face, though young, carried an air of resilience. He wasn't just selling flowers. He was surviving. This boy's life had been turned upside down a year ago. Once, he had been part of a happy family, living with his parents who adored him. Music filled their home, especially the songs of Taylor Swift. They would sing along to her tunes, laughing and bonding over the melodies. For the boy, those moments were precious, the happiest memories of his life. But everything changed in an instant when a tragic car accident claimed his parents' lives. Suddenly, he was left alone, facing a harsh world without the comfort and protection of his family. Now, he stood there every day, selling flowers to scrape together enough money for food. The world rushed past him, most people too busy to notice the small boy trying to hold on to a sliver of hope. But fate had other plans for him. On this particular day, Taylor Swift herself happened to walk down that very street. She was dressed casually, trying to enjoy a Taylor step slowed as her gaze fell on the boy. Something about him stood out. His small frame, the way he clutched the flowers tightly as if they were his lifeline, and the deep sadness hidden behind his quiet determination. She couldn't just walk past him like everyone else. Without hesitation, she crossed the street and knelt down to meet his eye level. "How much are the flowers?" Taylor asked gently, her voice soft and warm. The boy looked up, startled by the attention. For a moment he hesitated, unsure if this kind stranger was serious. Finally, he answered, $5, ma'am." Taylor smiled, reaching into her bag to hand him a crisp bill. "I'll take one," she said, carefully picking a flower from his bundle. As she took the flower, she noticed the boy's hands. They were small and rough, a stark reminder of the hard life he must have been living. "What's your name?" she asked. The boy hesitated again before softly replying, "Daniel." There was something about the way he said his name that tugged at her heart. Taylor decided to ask one more question. "Why are you selling flowers, Daniel? Are you helping someone?" Daniel lowered his gaze, as if embarrassed. After a moment, he whispered, "It's just me. My parents, they passed away last year." His voice cracked slightly as he spoke, and Taylor felt her heart sink. She didn't press further, sensing the pain in his words. Instead, she nodded, thanked him, and walked away, but her mind couldn't leave the boy behind. That night, as Taylor sat in her hotel room, she kept looking at the flower Daniel had sold her. It was a small, delicate thing, but it represented so much more. The thought of a child struggling alone on the streets kept her awake. The world knew Taylor Swift as a global superstar, but her community. As the night wore on, she couldn't shake the image of Daniel's sad, yet determined face. His story, his loss, and his vulnerability kept echoing in her mind. Taylor knew that she had to do something more than just buy flowers. She had the power to help him, to change his life, and she couldn't simply turn her back on that. As the night stretched on, Taylor found herself unable to push the image of Daniel's sad yet determined face from her mind. His story lingered, echoing in her thoughts like a haunting melody. She couldn't shake the feeling that something greater was at play, that the moment they shared was not just a fleeting encounter. Daniel's loss, his quiet resilience, and his vulnerability had touched her deeply. Taylor Swift knew she couldn't simply walk away and leave him to survive on his own. She had the power, the resources, and the opportunity to help him, to make a lasting difference in his life. And she couldn't let that chance slip through her fingers. The next morning, Taylor awoke early, her heart filled with purpose. She wasted no time in setting her plan in motion. She gathered her team and started organizing the resources she would need to give Daniel more than just a one-time donation. She wasn't going to offer him a quick fix or a handout. She wanted to provide him with the tools to rebuild his life. Taylor reached out to a local charity that specialized in helping children from low-income families, particularly those who had lost their parents. The charity was dedicated to giving these kids a chance to thrive, and Taylor was determined to make sure Daniel had that opportunity. With the charity's help, Taylor arranged for Daniel to receive a safe, stable home. She made sure he would have financial support to cover the basics, food, clothing, and other necessities. But more importantly, she worked with the organization to ensure that Daniel would have the chance to go back to school. Education was something his parents had always valued, and now Taylor wanted to give him the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to dream of a better future. She wasn't just giving him a handout. She was offering him a chance at a new life, one that he could shape for himself. But Taylor didn't stop there. She knew that Daniel's parents had been huge fans of her music, and she wanted to honor their memory in a way that was personal and meaningful. They had always shared a deep love for her songs, and Taylor wanted to ensure that their legacy lived on through their son. She reached out to her team and organized something truly special, a surprise that would not only show Daniel how much she cared, but also show him the power of love, compassion, and human connection. It was going to be a day Daniel would never forget. As the day of the surprise approached, the excitement in the air was palpable. The charity, with Taylor's support, had set everything into motion. Daniel, however, had no idea what was about to unfold. He had come to terms with the harshness of life, and he had learned not to expect much from the world. He had accepted that his dreams were just that, dreams. But little did he know, his world was about to change forever. The morning of the surprise, Daniel stood once again at the corner of the busy street, the flowers bundled tightly in his hands. He glanced around, the routine all too familiar. No one seemed to notice him. People rushed past, lost in their own worlds, and he didn't expect anything different today. But then, something unexpected happened. He looked up and saw a figure in the distance, walking toward him through the crowded street. His heart skipped a beat as he recognized her, Taylor Swiftstar, the woman who had bought a flower from him just days before, the woman who had spoken to him with such warmth, was now coming toward him again. But this time, it was different. As she approached, Taylor smiled at him, a warmth in her eyes that instantly put him at ease. She was no longer a distant celebrity to him. She was someone who cared, someone who remembered. "Hi, Daniel," she said softly, her voice like a comforting melody. "I told you I'd be back." Daniel stood frozen, unsure of what to say or do. He had never imagined that this moment would happen. Was it real? Was he dreaming? But Taylor's presence was undeniable, and when she spoke, it was clear that something had changed. "I've been thinking a lot about you," Taylor continued, her voice filled with sincerity. "And I want to make sure you don't have to struggle anymore." At first, Daniel didn't understand. He stared at her, trying to process her words. What was she saying? Was this some kind of dream? Taylor reached into her bag and handed him an envelope. Inside was a check, a generous amount that would help him start a new chapter in his life. But that wasn't all. "This is just the beginning," she said. "I've made sure that you'll have a home, food, and clothing. But most importantly, you'll be going back to school. It's time to focus on your future, Daniel. You deserve that chance." Daniel's eyes filled with tears as he grasped the envelope in his trembling hands. He had never expected anything like this. The pain of losing his parents, the constant struggle to survive. It all suddenly felt a little lighter. But Taylor wasn't finished. She smiled warmly at him and added, "Your parents were amazing people, Daniel. They loved my music, and they loved you more than anything. I want to honor their memory in a special way. We're going to make sure you have the tools to make their dreams for you come true." Then, with a gesture that took Daniel completely by surprise, Taylor invited him to a private event, one that would allow him to meet some of her closest friends and a few special people who could help him along his journey. She was connecting him with people who could offer not just financial support, but mentorship, guidance, and friendship. As the day went on, Daniel found himself surrounded by people who cared. People who saw him, who valued him, and who wanted to see him succeed. Taylor's act of kindness had unlocked a new future for him, a future that was no longer defined by his struggles, but by his potential. He couldn't believe it. The boy who had once been invisible in the crowd was now the center of attention, not for his tragedy, but for his resilience, his strength, and his newfound hope. And that night, as Daniel lay in his new bed in a safe home, he realized something. His life had changed. His parents' love for Taylor Swift and her music had somehow, in the most extraordinary way, come full circle. Through Taylor's kindness, Daniel was given a second chance. A chance not just to survive, but to thrive. His journey was just beginning, and with the help of those who believed in him, he would make the most of it. In the end, the surprise wasn't just a gift for Daniel. It was a reminder to all of us that kindness, when given without expectation, has the power to heal, to restore, and to transform. The small acts of compassion can change lives in ways we never imagined, and sometimes the most unexpected people can be the ones to help us discover our true potential. For Daniel, Taylor Swift wasn't just a celebrity. She was a beacon of hope in his darkest hour. And for Taylor, this act of kindness was a testament to the power of love, the strength of community, and the incredible impact we can have when we choose to care.